where do you believe humanity came from?
A universe created by our own ancestors at a higher dimension, the creator of all, so to speak, that is running this simulation as an experiment, as a grand experiment. We're nothing more than a group of atoms researching ourselves, trying to discover the essence of who we truly are, where we came from.
Are we living in a matrix?
We are living in a fractal holographic matrix of light that we can't detect as we are fully immersed inside of this matrix of light, and that our consciousness is not created in the brain, that it's downloaded as a stream of information. If we don't understand exactly what happened in the past, then all of a sudden we're going to recreate the same exact future all over again, because the past is prologue. We'll rise up, become a space-faring race again. We'll have significant, superior technologies, also with superior and significant weaponry, and eventually we could potentially destroy ourselves and knock ourselves back down to a Bronze Age again and start all over.
How do we do that to create a massive wave of shift here on Earth?
We need to come together and collaborate, and we need to break this spell that's been put over us, draw a line in the sand and say enough is enough. It's time for us to love one another. We're going to erase these divide and conquer tactics that we've been programmed to believe in, and we're going to see each other as our own equals, and we're going to build together. And when we do that, man, there's nothing that can stop us. We have to come to an understanding of what happened, where we went wrong, what our mistakes were, and how can we correct it so we can have a much better future for humanity and for future generations. Otherwise,
are you ready to shine? Shine bright. Woohoo! Archangel Michael, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Uriel, higher self, higher team, all angels, God, and light workers here for our highest good and the highest good of all. Please help me to help Billy today. Please help us to help everyone today. Please help us to shift consciousness today for our highest good, for the highest good of all, or something even better. Woohoo! Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. Today, I'll be talking with a best-selling author, Billy Carson, about ancient civilizations, off-planet civilizations, and a technology and history that's been hidden from us that changes everything about our existence. So welcome to the show, Billy. Are you ready to shine?
oh yeah, I'm ready, man. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thank you so much for being here, and a mighty woohoo. Now, before we dive right into things and into your story, are we living in a matrix?
I personally believe, based on the circumstantial evidence, based on the quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and the mathematics that have been left behind, that we now have rediscovered, that we are living in a fractal holographic matrix, a matrix of light that we can't detect as we are fully immersed inside of this matrix of light. So it would be like us trying to detect the fourth dimension or the fifth dimension from the third dimension. It's virtually impossible, but there are clues left behind, and those clues are hidden in the fractal mathematics.
Excellent. And we're going to go there today. We're going to go to the clues. Where do you believe humanity came from? Because you said things, you alluded to the fact that there are things hidden here, or that there's math hidden in plain sight. So where do you believe humanity came from?
Well, humanity is part of a universal life force that exists. I think humanity is just one form of life. That sentient beings on Earth, for example, are just one form of life that exists throughout the entire universe. That there could be Googles of life forms, and that's an actual number. Google's a number. Googles of life forms that exist throughout the entire known universe. And I believe that since energy can't be destroyed, it can only be transformed. That we are the recoalescence of a formation of atoms. And we ourselves are now researching atoms and learning more about them at CERN, right? The Large Hadron Collider, smashing atoms together. So we're nothing more than a group of atoms researching ourselves, trying to discover the essence of who we truly are, where we came from. And the digger we deep into it, we're beginning to realize that this avatar body is actually made of light, collapsed into a dense state, which we call solidity, and that our consciousness is not created in the brain, that it's downloaded as a stream of information, that the brain itself doesn't create consciousness, that it actually comes from somewhere else. So this is all new, incredible discoveries in science.
So what's interesting to me, I've dove into some of your books. I've watched a bunch of interviews with you, and you say some things that are awesome. One of my favorite things is because we can look at this the double slit experiment. You know, waves, particles, and you say something that I haven't heard before. The electron chooses, or the photon chooses, am I going to be a wave or a particle? It has, so that means that it's infinite in all directions, our sentience, our consciousness, awareness.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely true. You know, through the double slit experiment, we discovered some amazing things by sending electrons, individual electrons, through a tiny slit in a very small microscopic box to detect whether the electron would go through the slit and hit the back wall as a digital bit of information, or would it be a wave. When they looked, it was digital. When they didn't look, it was a wave of light, a wave of potentials. And so we know now that everything in the known universe exists in superposition of each other, which means that every potential outcome actually exists all at once until a conscious observer interacts with that electron or a photon, because they've done it with both, and that will collapse it into a digital state of matter. So what that really means is that we're creating our reality frame by frame, just like in a video game, and that the electrons themselves and even the photons are actually conscious. They make a conscious decision to collapse themselves into solidity based on conscious observation. And if that's the case, that means that every atom is conscious because the electrons are conscious. So that means everything that exists, whether you believe it's man-made or organic, it's all conscious.
So let's get a little trippier with this. Then we're going to go to ancient civilizations. We'll go to Emerald
Yeah.
tablets. We'll go to how you went down this rabbit hole. Infinite all directions, conscious in all directions. That means that if I am, well, I'm set up with this outdoor studio. I've got this amazing RV behind me. If I look away, the RV, and this is something I thought when I was 5 years old, because I knocked out my front tooth while I was thinking about this. If I look away, it ain't real. If I look back, it's there. But it also means that if the observer of me, if another level of consciousness looks away, I don't exist, because I may be in a simulation by something else's consciousness, by someone else's, by something else, by someone else's, infinite in all directions. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. And people say, well, if you're standing in front of the RV and you turn your head away, but you put your hand back there, you can still feel that the RV is there. Well, that's true. Because why? Because your hand is actually using electromagnetic frequencies to detect the electromagnetic frequencies in the RV's atoms. So you never really touch anything. Touching is actually an illusion. What happens is the electrons orbiting the atoms in your fingers have this particular electromagnetic frequency that now repelling the electrons orbiting the atoms inside the RV. So when you put your hand back here, it's a form of conscious observation because you're interacting with electromagnetic fields. And so what you're saying is absolutely true. According to quantum physics, everything exists in a state of waves of potential until they're looked at or observed, or in some way, a sensory perception picks it up, and then it decides to become solid matter again.
So I can't believe I'm going to ask this question then, Billy. Who do you think, and this is going back to Ellie in the movie Contact on the beach, and they said we did this for millions of years. Who do you think set the rules up for this multi-universe where that's the case?
Yeah, well, that's the creator. And in the ancient Sumerian tablets, they call it the creator of all. So the Anunnaki themselves knew that there was somebody even higher than them. So they knew they weren't the real gods. And so there's this creator of all. When you look into fractal mathematics and you look into the holographic nature of the universe, you begin to discover that we could be living in an ancestor universe. In other words, a universe created by our own ancestors at a higher dimension, the creator of all, so to speak, that is running this simulation as an experiment, as a grand experiment. And you say, well, that sounds horrendous. That sounds, crazy. Well, we've created our own universes right here in this dimension through a couple of methods. The first one we've done is we created a video game called No Man's Sky. 14 college students created a video game that has 80 quadrillion planets, unlimited life forms, and the game never ends. Now, what happens when they inject AI in the next version of this game? The next iteration is going to have AI. That video game is a universe already that now is going to become conscious. And then look at The Sims. The Sims owner, the Sims programmer, or the guy who created the Sims, the founder, already stated that they're going to be adding conscious AI into the software. And so the Sims themselves are going to become conscious. Again, another version of creating a universe within a universe. At some point, will they themselves begin to ask questions like, who was our creator? Where are we from? What was our Big Bang? When we turned the game console on, that was your Big Bang. And also, will they then begin to program their own code within the code to create their own simulated universes? So there could be many layers to our reality. And I seriously doubt that we're even close to base reality. We're probably very far away.
So what's interesting to this, then I've got to know how you got started down this road.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating to me then is that I don't do conspiracy things. I think there are powers that be that want to stay in power. That ain't a conspiracy. But it seems to me that the powers that be want to use this kind of information to disempower us, to say that you're not powerful because you're part of a simulation, that it doesn't matter. But what if consciousness is infused in everything? And so everything matters. It doesn't matter. As you would say, hermeticism, from the micro to the macro, or the macro to the micro, from above, so below. It doesn't matter the size and scale of it. It's all consciousness infused. And we are all the receivers.
Facts. This grand experiment is all about how can we begin to manifest civilization by civilization, reality by reality? How can we begin to manifest heaven within this realm? For us as humans, is how can we manifest heaven on earth? How can we all ascend to a golden age and sustain it? We know that we've had 4 golden ages at least on this planet already, and we're heading into the 5th. When will we break the cycle of rise and fall of civilization? Can we sustain a golden age? How many occurrences of this rise and fall of the Yuga cycle will it take for us to become a sustained golden age? How many other civilizations throughout the universe have not gotten past their nuclear age and destroyed themselves? How many dead planets are out there? How many have surpassed that and achieved golden ages and sustained it? There's this whole thing going on. I believe this is all about the universe trying to experience itself subjectively through us and obtain this high level of sentience through this universal golden age that can occur at some point in the future, universal wide. Like I said before, the brain is encased in darkness and it doesn't know what's going on out there. So we take the Hermetic principles, as above, so below. So let's look at the small scale, the brain being the universe, but in the smaller scale. But it has friends. The brain says to its friends, go outside and collect me some data so I can figure out what's going on. So the friends go out, they touch, they smell, they see, they hear, they taste. The 5 senses, those are the friends of the brain. It goes out and they collect data that by touching, smelling, seeing, hearing, tasting, whatever, that data, they don't know what it means. They can only transmit that information to the brain, and then the brain will sort it all out and then project a hologram. And we navigate through this matrix based on that holographic projection from data collected from its friends.
So which also is why when we're touching something, we're not actually touching something. It's just data collected.
Facts, absolutely. And on the larger scale, well, what's the universe doing? The universe is a mind, and the universe has friends. We are the sensory perception for the universe. We are a fractal of the universal mind, and we live our lives, and through our life that we live, we actually collect data moment by moment, and we transmit that data consciously back to the source so that it can experience what it's like to live as Billy Carson, you, and everyone else. And even a rock, a blade of grass, a tree, fungus, everything. It's experiencing life omnisciently through every single living thing that exists in the universe, and everything that appears to be not living, we know is alive because the atoms are alive. And so now all of a sudden, this thing is gaining a massive amount of data, and it's trying to achieve, in my opinion, it's trying to achieve a universal age, a golden age.
So, okay, we get to jump to the golden age. We get to jump to the Anunnaki. We also get to jump to, I guess, in the fact that real briefly that you and I, we are the same and we're not. We're fractals of the whole, but we are slightly different fractals because we are, well, I'm 88.6. You're 88.7 on the FM dial then.
Right. Exactly. That's a fact. There's only one radio station, and it's broadcasting at all these frequencies. Our avatar bodies are tuned to pick up a dot number of that frequency. Like you said, 88.1, 88.2, 88.3, 4.5, so to speak. But it's all coming from the same source. And so it's the old Mayan saying, in lakek alakin, I am another you. They knew this back in the ancient times. They knew that everyone that they were looking at, everyone they were communicating or interacting with was just another version of themselves. And so you have to learn how to see yourself and other people. And when you do that, you develop empathy because you begin to realize that they're just another version of you, and we're all one fractal of the whole. And that gives, when you have the empathy, then you look to do service for others, acts of service, try to help, assist, enlighten, which is the real goal here, and to bring everyone up to a high level of consciousness.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So as a kid, fascinated by pyramids. I remember when I first saw something on like a Google Earth, some telescope image on Mars, and I'm looking at pyramids and I'm going, what the? And then I'm looking at the mathematics behind it and I'm going, are you kidding me? When did you personally become fascinated in ancient civilizations on an off planet or on and off grid? And what did it do to you?
Yeah, there was two things that took me into ancient civilizations. The first thing was researching aerospace technology. I saw a UFO in my backyard when I was 7 years old, living in Opelika, next to the Opelika airport. And what I saw go across the sky didn't look like an airplane. It was like a slightly elongated egg, glowing metal, completely silent, no wings, no cockpit, no windows, no tail fin, nothing. And I knew that what I saw was something strange because it cleared the horizon in seconds. And a plane normally will go very slow across my horizon. I had nothing to do in the 70s but sit outside, look up at the sky, watch the planes, and wonder. And so I knew that something strange had just happened. I ran in the house and I told my mom and everyone, and they were like, my mom pulled me aside and said there were advanced beings on this planet a very long time ago.
You have a super mom. Continue.
Yeah. Yeah, this is in the 70s. Now think about that. This is a long time ago. There was no influence from UFO movies and things like that. You know, we only had 3 channels, and the 4th one was a VHF, hard to tune in station. TV went off at midnight. There was no cartoon, a Nickelodeon, and all these other things all day long. And so, but she told me this, and she said that she said, go to Machu Picchu. They used to live on tops of mountains. That's what my mom told me, which is why I dedicated my first book to my mom, because I finally made it to Machu Picchu. And so that's my dedication, the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. But that set my brain in the direction of there's something more going on here than I ever even dreamed of as a kid. And so I went to my elementary school, Rainbow Park Elementary, and I got the Encyclopedia Britannica from the library, and I started researching aerospace because I was trying to find what I saw. I didn't come close, but it took me down the rabbit hole of technologies and advanced technologies. So I got into swept wing, delta wing, hovering devices that they had back in the 60s. This hovering stuff is not new, it's old. You know, the UFOs that they were trying to recreate in America, utilizing blades, and, you know, ballistic, intercontinental ballistic, all those things I began to study. And that technology eventually led me into looking into ancient civilizations much later. And then I had another experience in around 2010, which was a very weird experience. Some people call it a close encounter of the 4th kind, where I felt like I was engaged by these aliens. I know it sounds weird, it sounds crazy, but the reason why it took me down the rabbit hole of ancient civilizations even deeper than I already was because what they left in my head, according to my experience, was worldwide telescope over and over again, worldwide telescope, worldwide telescope. So I got on my computer and I looked up worldwide telescope on excite.com, which used to be the competition for Google. And the first search result was worldwidetelescope.org. And I installed that software. They're still in existence today. You can research the age of that domain name, and you'll find out it's been around since before I found it. And there's all the space probe data from all the missions we've ever sent up, and all the current ones we have up there now are inside of that website. And anyone can access it worldwide, unless their country has it blocked for some reason, but most countries probably don't. And I saw Mars, and I saw Mars panoramas, and then I saw Opportunity rover. I said, okay, let me check that out. I go into Mars Opportunity. Now I'm zooming in and out, panning left and right from the perspective of the rover. And as I'm doing this, I'm seeing anomalies on the surface, things that shouldn't be there, stones that look like parts of structures that I know resemble structures on Earth, like in Peru, for example, right? And I'm going, what the heck am I looking at? And the more I looked into it, the more anomalies that I found. And then I made the connection. Well, I had been saying before in the back of my mind, these structures on Earth look like they were built with advanced technology. Now I'm seeing something on Mars. I have to find out, is there a real connection? that led me into the Sumerian tablets for the very first time. Before that, I was only into Egyptian texts, the book of going forth by day and so forth. But that took me into the Sumerian tablets, which eventually led me into the Emerald tablets. But between the two, I discovered that there were beings working on Mars according to the ancient Sumerians, not according to me. They were called the Igigi, and there was two civilizations running concurrently, one on Earth and one on Mars. And at a point in the Epic of Atrahasis, which is a famous Sumerian tablet book of work, that tablet of work that was left in the British Museum right now, they descended from Mars and came to Earth to go to battle against the kings of Earth. So right there, I said, wait a minute, they have technology. They have advanced technology. And that took me down the rabbit hole of ancient civilizations like you wouldn't believe. And fast forward till today, you know, I'm probably one of the world leaders in ancient civilizations history and knowledge. And of course, I've written 2 books on it that have both become bestsellers in multiple categories.
It's thank you. And it's fascinating. So I've had 2 near-death experiences,
Mm.
and they say one of the ways you can tell if somebody's had a near-death experience, or I'm going to use a different term, an awakening experience, is if their whole life blows up afterwards. And forgive me, I know your whole life blew up afterwards, but but to me it was because you were inserted. I don't know if we call it a new operating system. It was certainly a higher level operating system that says, here's your path and here's your direction. Here's the real world. I guess that maybe going back to the movie, The Matrix. Welcome to the real world, Neo. And off you went.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, at first it was overwhelming for my family that I had at the time. You know, I was married before. And it was really one of the catalysts for the divorce and everything else. Just the experience that I had compiled with my deep non-quenching ability to go into these topics and dig into the research. It just was a driving force. I mean, I gained no real popularity or anything out of it. I got a lot of heartache out of it, but it led me to the path that I'm on right now. So it just was part of my journey, but definitely I came to the real world. And I definitely unplugged myself from the Matrix and came to the real world, and I'm here now. I'm here to stay.
Woo-hoo. So thank you. And it was a gift. I see it as a huge, huge gift. And you specifically, because you're one who's going to travel everywhere, and you're going to go, not mad is the right word, but you will not stop until you get the answers. So let's go back. Let's go to, you mentioned them at least once, maybe twice. And I know mentioned them in the beginning. Who are or were the Anunnaki? Where did they come from? And in a sense, are they still here?
Yeah. The Anunnaki is a term it's an Akkadian term. The original term was the Anuna. And the Anunnaki, they're mentioned in many texts as the Anuna, the Anunnaki, the Anak in the Bible, the Neturu in ancient Kemet, now known as Egypt, many names around the world. These beings have been around for a very, very long time. And the name itself means those who came from heaven to earth. So it's a generalized term. It doesn't mean a particular race of beings. It's a general term for anyone that comes from outside this world to this planet. They are an Anunnaki. The civilization that they built on Earth is known as the Atlantean civilization. And how do we know this? Because according to the ancient Egyptians, Thoth ruled over the land of ancient Kemet for 16,000 years. And in his emerald tablets, he claims to have been a son of Atlantis. And he came back to Kem to rebuild a high level of civilization after the Great Flood. So we know for a fact that the Anunnaki were the ones that came here and built the Atlantean civilization, and that it was global. They hail from, most of them, I believe, hail from the Pleiades originally. And if you look into a lot of the ancient texts like the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, the Indian Vedas, even other ancient texts, the Sumerian, of course, tablets, you'll discover that there's a lot of accounts of these beings having a big war in the Pleiadian star cluster. And then they began to flee that region of space, and they became space refugees. First occurrence of refugees that we know of are these people that left, inhabited Orion, inhabited Ursa Minor, Sirius A, B, and C, planets that orbit different stars throughout our galaxy. Some came to Earth and actually created a breakaway civilization here. Some crash landed on a planet that orbited a brown dwarf star that was named Nibiru in the Enuma Elish. And so we have these beings hailing from one sector of the sky from the Pleiades mostly, and then spreading out and creating more breakaway civilizations throughout the galaxy and even in this solar system. So it's an incredible story, which is what I'm telling. I'm trying to get people to understand that our story, our backstory is much bigger and grander than anyone can even understand.
Thank you. So that brings up two key questions, and take them in whichever works best for you. You said landed on a brown dwarf star, and part A of this question is, are we a binary system? Because that affects the timing, the timing of how we see everything, and everything moves as waves. And I'm looking at waves behind you, which suggests to me that it has to be. And secondly, did we end up on Mars as well?
Yeah, good questions. And so the first thing is, yes, we are living in a binary solar system, meaning that there is another star out there orbiting far beyond the orbit of Pluto, has now been confirmed by astronomers. And it's a brown dwarf, which means you can only see it in 2-mass infrared mode. You can actually spot it coming out of the constellation of Leo on the worldwidetelescope.org site. If you go there and switch it to 2-mass infrared mode, you'll find the brown dwarf out there with planets orbiting it. Now, scientists have discovered, astronomers have discovered planets orbiting far beyond the orbit of Pluto, but inside our inner Oort cloud. And they claim that there is another solar system within this solar system that's orbiting our sun. They say every 4,200 years. NASA found another planet out there that's about 4 to 6 times larger than Earth in a very strange orbit, and they call it Planet 9. Now, an official press release went out for that about maybe 6 years ago. Planet 9 is what they're calling it. So we know that these objects are out there far beyond the orbit of Pluto, and we know that we're living in a binary solar system. As a matter of fact, they discovered through the WISE telescope that they put up in space to research star systems that binary and trinary are more common than single star systems. It would be very rare to be in a star system that's single star versus binary. And so we are in a binary solar system, and these beings came here. They didn't, not only did they inhabit Earth, but also the other planets and moons in this solar system. So they keep having us look 20 million light years. We found a potential exoplanet that might have water and land and maybe life. No, right above our heads, there's life. Mars, in my opinion, still has life on it today. Now, Mars, of course, you can see the evidence of its destruction. And the reason why Mars has one side charred and one side very smooth is because there was a global flood on one side. The backside was a victim of a major impact. What caused that impact? Well, when you look at the rewind, the geological rewind of Mars's orbit around our sun, you discover, scientists discover, astrophysicists actually discovered it used to be a habitable moon that orbited another planet in our solar system called Tiamat in ancient texts, but they haven't given it an official name. But that planet exploded and became the asteroid belt. Now, if you have a moon orbiting a planet that explodes, the debris from that exploding planet, it hits that moon, which would have been Mars, charred one side, which is why it has the most char in any other space or body in our solar system. And of course, that created a global flood, which washed over a lot of things and created a lot of damage. Also, the mass hitting one side would explain why Mars's axis shifted 45 degrees. And we know the equator is in an angle because the mass hit one side and literally tilted the planet on its side. And it became its own planet as it orbited our sun in a very strange elliptical orbit, which is why we can only rendezvous with Mars every 2 years, because it's got perigee and apogee. It goes as far as 80 million miles and comes in as close as 40. It's a very strange elliptical orbit, but that's because it was released gravitationally from orbiting Tiamat. And then we know for a fact that these beings were here, and according to the text, there was a pyramid war, a second pyramid war. Some stayed and some left. Some stayed because they already had roots and ties here. They already had taken on wives and had children and everything else. And they went to hide from what they call the evil wind from that war. That evil wind sounded a lot like radiation sickness because people's hair were falling out, their eyes were bleeding, their fingernails were falling off. And so some went to go hide from the evil wind, and some went to, like Enki, he went to go talk to his father and said, "Can you stop the evil wind?" And Anu said, "I cannot stop the evil wind. Get in your skyship and forebode." That means get the hell out of here. So, I think that there's some still living on this planet till this very day. Even I had a conversation with Major Ed Dames a few years ago in Orlando, Florida, who was the head of Project Stargate. You can look it up on Wikipedia. He was the head of the CIA for the remote viewing section. And he told me that there's beings in Antarctica that have the ability to come and go as they please. And he said, no one can stop them.
Yeah.
So I think that they're still here.
Is there any text about what this original planet was that was destroyed, or how it was destroyed? And we'll start bending like Beckham here and start bringing it to what this means for humanity today. Because I believe the ancient civilizations, they left code, they left blueprint, they left giant megaliths to direct us. But what's said about this planet? I'll call it a mother planet of Mars that's no longer here.
Yeah, it's a great name for it. The planet in the Enuma Elish and the 7 tablets of creation, which are located in the British Museum, which have been deciphered since the 1800s by George Smith, and the Syriologist.
And these are tablets we can all read about in your book, but also there are many other places we can go and read about the tablets.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can buy the Enuma Elish on Amazon now. So everyone can read them. You know, it's not secret knowledge that I'm holding safe and close to heart. Everyone can get access to them. You can even go to the UCLA CDLI online digital cuneiform library, and you can grab the Enuma Elish off the virtual shelf and drop it into a translator and read it online. So, you know, anyone can get access to this information. It's not secreted, forbidden information. It's just that most people don't know where to look. And in this text, this amazing text called the Enuma Elish, it talks about the formation of our solar system from an astrophysical standpoint. In other words, it's extremely scientific. They're talking about gravity fields, they're talking about orbital patterns, and how planets and moons gathered their orbit, how because of the chaos in the beginning, there were collisions. And according to the one of the versions of the Enuma Elish, there's a couple of versions because it was written in Akkadian and also older in Babylonian. In the Babylonian, the planet that crashed into Tiamat, or one of the moons of a planet that crashed into Tiamat, was called Nibiru. In the newer version, which means still thousands of years old, Marduk, aka Amun-Ra, changed the name of the destroying planet to his name. So he wanted to be the destroyer. So it reads almost like a war. It's very interesting because we don't know if it was a war or it was just a natural geological disaster. But either way, one of the satellites that orbit Nibiru crashed into Tiamat and boom, blew it up into a lot of pieces. A huge giant chunk swung away and recoalesced as the Earth with water and organic material needed for life. And so the Earth didn't exist up until the point until Tiamat actually was destroyed. It was Mercury, Venus, which was in the position we are now, and then you had Tiamat. And it's crazy because in the ancient records, somebody was able to see Tiamat from another position, not from Earth, because Earth didn't exist. And in this text, they say that Tiamat was so beautiful. It was a water-bearing planet with land and life. It was so beautiful that when the sun shined on it, it rivaled the sun's glory. Now, if you can see that to make that statement, you have to be somewhere within our solar system to get a perceptual view of the planet itself and how the sun would shine on it, but it wasn't from Earth. Now, that's crazy because somebody saw this planet when they wrote this. And I don't think people were sitting around 8,000 years ago writing sci-fi stories. So then, now, the whole part of the Bible in the Old Testament where it says he divided the waters from the waters and all of that, that's all in the Enuma Elish. It's copied almost word for word from the Enuma Elish on the creation of the earth and the 7-day theory of God creating earth. That's taking directly out of the Enuma Elish and dropped right into the biblical text. More proof that they copied a lot of information from ancient tablets. And so what's this separation? It's the water that came. It's the organic material that came, the recoalescing of the planet over time, healing itself. And then boom, the planet already had life. Of course, it was a rock that had been already harbored organic material. And this would be why people who go into mines can discover artifacts based on the layers deep, 300 million years, 400 million years, 500 million year old artifacts have been pulled out of mines. How is that possible if Homo sapiens are only 200,000 years old? It's possible because nobody's taking into account Earth used to be part of another planet, and those artifacts are part of another civilization when we were part of that planet millions of years ago.
Which may explain also elongated skulls and all sorts of other things that we it's so interesting. The modern his story, and his story goes to the victor,
Yeah.
discounts everything that won't fit with that story, makes it fringe, but it's still here. You can still see it. I want to double back, because I'm picturing in my head from I believe it's from the Bhagavad Gita, I'm seeing jet planes and basically nuclear bombs.
Yeah.
This is like a 7,000-year-old text, and we're seeing what we'll call Earth Wars or even Star Wars.
Yeah.
What are these wars that have taken place, and are we any better off today? Are we any more any less likely to be doing this stuff today?
Well, two good questions. The first question is, yes, the Bhagavad Gita is just one of many ancient texts that talk about these Star Wars and wars on Earth. And the weapons that are listed there are so incredible. In the Bhagavad Gita and the Indian Vedas, they have these weapons, the Brahma Astra, the Brahmahanda Astra, these weapons that once they're released, they can't be drawn back. They can't be stopped. They have a weapon that can destroy any man on 3 worlds. They have planet-destroying weapons that can blow up an entire planet like the Death Star in Star Wars. They have flying cities that battle in the sky from the perception of the people on Earth. And these flying cities will destroy one another in the sky. They're talking about these space wars that occur, where many of these flying cities and the wars of the gods that will occur in space, in the heavens, above the earth. It just reads like a real Star Wars, Star Trek type, movie. And it's mind-boggling, because what they're talking about is so far advanced from anything that we have right now. And I think there's a lot of evidence that leads to the fact it's accurate, because they found the records of the Vimanas in the Indian text, which talk about these flying devices that flew silently through the sky that can take a complement of men to any planet in our solar system. I mean, who has time to write this kind of stuff? They even found the flight paths and the instructions on how these things were built. They used mercury. They used a mercury vortex engine. So I used a ferrofluid vortex engine that was electrified and put up to about 250,000 atmospheres. And it gave them anti-gravity properties. And so it's mind-blowing. And then you look at this and you say, man, how does this affect us right now? And where are we right now? Well, unfortunately, this warring DNA is in our body. The epigenetics of this is in our bodies, because we know that these people were our progenitors in a way, because they genetically tinkered and modified our cousins before we became Homo sapien. And that makes us relatives or cousins of these beings. So everyone on this planet is an alien. And so we have I guess, I don't know, this weird itch to always go to war. We have this thing inside of us that makes us want to consume and to war and not collaborate. And so as hunter-gatherers and such, you're into collaboration because everyone needs everyone's help. We've gone from that to consumption and competition. And this consumption and competition has created a lot of wars on this planet. Now, the state of where we are right now, we haven't yet reached back up to the level that these beings were, which is the main reason why I'm teaching this information. Because I believe if we don't understand exactly what happened in the past,
yes,
then all of a sudden we're going to recreate the same exact future all over again, because the past is prologue. We have to come to an understanding of what happened, where we went wrong, what our mistakes were, and how can we correct it so we can have a much better future for humanity and for future generations. Otherwise, we'll rise up, we'll become a spacefaring race again. We'll have significant, superior technologies, also with superior and significant weaponry, and eventually we could potentially destroy ourselves and knock ourselves back down to a Bronze Age again and start all over. So that's why these teachings, I believe, are so important, to dig into the past and try to put the pieces of the puzzle back together so that we can understand where we came from, who we are, what's innately inside of us, and how can we overcome that and begin to see each other from a standpoint of love, understanding, and empathy.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I believe as you do, we're on a precipice. I know, I'm convinced in my heart of hearts, we already made it through, but we are right on that razor's edge. Maybe we
Yeah.
need to go back. Let's go back to some of the golden ages, Atlantis, Lemuria. What happened to these civilizations that we can learn from for us both globally today and individually?
Mhm. Well, these civilizations had reached such a high level, and then slowly but surely creeps in the greed, the jealousy, the envy, the disagreements, right? The coveting of others' goods, the coveting of others' resources. It seeps in little by little, and then it erupts into battles and wars. It happened everywhere. Spiritual degradation in Lemuria, where the energy grid collapses and the island sinks into the ocean. And so, we've gotten past our nuclear age, even though we still have the weapons. I don't believe that we're going to launch nukes and destroy the planet anymore. That, to me, that era is long gone. But, we have to understand, man, like, wow, we are on a precipice. We are on the edge here. We can go to one side or the other at any given moment. And this is where I'm so happy and pleased that we are on the rise of consciousness, that people are beginning to wake questions and watch podcasts like yours and mine and other shows that are out there and trying to navigate their way through this chaos and bring order to the chaos. So little by little, we're getting there. And I'm really optimistic that we are going to achieve the ultimate to get back to a golden age. We're in the Tetra Yuga now, which is a silver age, heading back up towards the golden age. And it's important for everyone to begin to understand and take their part, their role, not sit back and watch the world burn, but actually take part in the rise in consciousness on this planet by helping, assisting, learning, educating, and helping people to raise their consciousness, because this has happened before. The Mayans said that there were 4 ages on this planet, 4 worlds. They said we're heading into the 5th. We're heading into the age of Aquarius now, 2025. It's right around the corner. And so it's a beautiful time to be alive. It really is, because I see from where I came from starting to talk about this stuff decades ago to where we are now. Now I'm on every mainstream TV network. I'm on mainstream podcasts and shows. I'm on blogs and websites and I'm on interviews. And it's incredible. So I can see this shift in consciousness heading in the right direction. And I'm optimistic that we're going to continue to go in that direction, even though there will be some stumbling blocks along the way.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to dive back in at the last little bit about the inside job. I feel that's that's hermeticism. That's what's most important. But what if you have spent time in the Great Pyramid of Giza? You've been down there. I mean that literally. What did you learn? Both what is the Great Pyramid, but more importantly, what are the messages that are coming through? Because I see places like this as portals of information, portals into another time where they're saying, here's how humanity makes it through if you listen to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the Great Pyramid is a magnificent piece of work. It's a multifunctional stone computer, in my opinion, amongst other things. It is also a portal. Thoth claims to have built the halls of Amenti underneath the Great Pyramid, which they found these giant halls, which extend out about a mile underneath the sands of Giza from the Great Pyramid. And in these halls, he would have these megalithic stone boxes made of crystal granite and crystal diorite that he called rejuvenation chambers, that he would put bodies in, and he would transfer his consciousness from one body to the other so that he could walk amongst men, but unlike a man, which is incredible. And then when you're there,
and I'll pause you for a second, just that concept, which they're starting to play with now, transferring consciousness. In other words, I could take me and put it into a stone, or I could take me and put it into another body, into a you, for instance.
Mm-hmm. Facts. They have already developed the ability to do this. They did it with a monkey. They transferred his mind into a computer back in 2013 or 14, I believe, in Russia. They have a project called 2045 Project. It's 2045.com. I wrote about it in my book. And now they're transferring human minds into robots, which we know a symbiotic link can already be made because they've done this in America with DARPA and the Avatar Project, where they have a field soldier in a bunker connecting consciously to a field robot and controlling it. And by 2045, the goal is to be able to clone an avatar body and transfer your consciousness into that body. They'll take a skin cell from you They'll culture that skin cell into stem cells and culture those stem cells into a synthetic embryo, allow that to grow to any age specified, and then transfer your mind into your own cloned body. That is the ultimate goal, 2045. That's what's going on. So we're already duplicating what the ancients have already done. So it's not something new and it's not woo-woo. It's real science. It's happening right now today. And the Great Pyramid also is a power generator. It's used to generate electricity in the ancient past. It's broken now because the running water from the Nile has meandered away too far. You have to have running water underneath it, which flows through the flows underneath that magnetized crystal granite, which creates physiostatic electricity. And those ions would rise up into the Grand Gallery, which would then have resonating rods, which would step it up into the King's Chamber. And from there, it would shoot up through the apex and send wireless power throughout the region, which could be captured by the magnetized crystal granite obelisks that are all around the area. And if you had something called a JED, a DJED, with a cable attached to it, you can do gold electroplating, you can turn on light bulbs and everything else. They had a good electrical system in the ancient past. And then the Queen's Chamber was a hydrogen extractor. So it would, through electrolysis, extract the hydrogen atoms, and then it would use that to send through those shafts that are pointed at star systems. Why? Because you communicate through the hydrogen frequency to stars, like we do right now in astrophysics. So I believe they were utilizing that to send communications as to updates on this breakaway civilization to their people on other planets. So it's pretty crazy stuff, but that's what I believe it actually was. And of course, the power of the Great Pyramid, the spiritual power that's built into it. The Egyptians used, the ancient Egyptians used a lot of crystal. And this crystal would be into diorite and granite, which is a lot of granite inside the Great Pyramid, tons of it. And you have to understand that they believed that crystal were living beings. They believed they were sentient living beings even. And so whenever they put crystal inside of something, crystal granite, crystal diorite, they believe it made the stone or made the whatever they built, the temple, come alive. Even the statues are made out of the same material. They were living beings to them, not just statues, inanimate statues. And so through that, though, I believe they stored data in those crystals. Those crystals can store information, and that people, if you understood what you were doing, had the right technology, you can tap into that data, tap into that information. And I believe a lot of that gets transmitted into a person spiritually when they're inside of the pyramid. I've been inside the Grand Gallery for 4, 5, 6 hours, and the King's Chamber as well. And I've seen people go through all different types of spiritual enlightenments and awakenings and get downloads and everything else. So there's something going on inside of there. Not to mention you're inside of a time dilation bubble, because the Great Pyramid is over 2 million blocks of stone. It has so much mass, it creates a time dilation bubble. And so when you're up near the Great Pyramid or inside of it, time is actually moving slower for you than somebody further away, scientifically proven by atomic clocks. That's just an amazing, amazing building, the structure that they built in the ancient past.
What are the messages from those buildings? And I know you've co-authored with Robert Edward Grant, who has been there as well and been seeing new information that maybe I'm going to say he wasn't ready to receive or to see before perceive, maybe is the right term. Right. What are the pyramids trying to teach us? Oh, and forgive me, part B, Ark of the Covenant?
Yeah, yeah, that's a big part of it. And so the pyramids are trying to teach us, first of all, they're trying to let us know about our inner solar system. There's evidence there that the Great Pyramid, based on the measurements of it, if you tap into that knowledge, you'll discover that it will give you the speed of Earth on its axis. It will give you the speed of Earth around the sun, the speed of the sun around the galactic equator of the Milky Way, and the speed of our galaxy around the local clusters of galaxies. It'll give you the time, how many days are in a year. It'll give you a complete calendar. I mean, it's really just an incredible computer. And that's all based on the measurements of the Great Pyramid. The height of the Great Pyramid is the average height of all the peaks on Earth. Now, to get that, you would need a polar orbiting satellite that would scan the Earth from pole to pole as it spun on its axis, take that data, take that topographical data, calculate how many peaks there are and divide that number, and then you get the average height. And then you take that average height and you build a pyramid to that height. So it's mind-boggling what these people were able to do And of course, inside the king's chamber, there's a stone box, which you can tell was added later. It doesn't appear to be a part of the original construction. Later, meaning still thousands of years ago, but probably because they didn't have enough running water underneath the aquifer. So they added the Ark of the Covenant, which was a machine that generated immense power. We know this because in the Bible, it talks about how much power and lightning comes out of this box and strikes people dead. And so there's a box there, a granite box, a rose granite box inside the king's chamber that is the exact dimensions of the Ark of the Covenant. Not the dimensions for burying somebody. They try to say it's a sarcophagus. It's not even close. First of all, there's no sarcophagus in Egypt that looks like that, number one. Number two, I can't even lay in that thing and straighten my legs out. My knees have to be bent. It's not a sarcophagus at all. There's no writing in there that says about a king or anything. There are signs on the walls, which I'll talk about in a second. But this thing definitely was where the Ark of the Covenant actually sat. And there's a huge chunk on the corner of this box that it was blown off and went across the room about 20 feet and hit the granite stone wall and left an indentation there, which shows you that it was some type of explosion. It's some type of a fusion chamber, that place, which is just incredible. It's mind-blowing, really. I mean, there's inside the king's chamber, which is a machine, in the walls, once you are ready, these images begin to appear, right? The Last Supper, star systems, alpha and omega symbols, all these things begin to come alive on the walls once you're inside the king's chamber. And once you've visited it many times, and I guess it's consciously you have to be ready for this, and it begins to be very visible. Then when you go back, you can still see it. You never lose it again. But when you first walk in, it just looks like solid walls. All of a sudden, all the walls come to life after a certain amount of time. It's wild. So we're talking about a living structure as well.
What is the living structure trying to teach us? What are the writings? What are showing us? And I've dove into some of Robert's work. What is an image of the Last Supper? What are they trying to share with us? And it sounds like as a portal, they're trying to share with us now. It ain't dead. It's changing before our eyes.
Yeah, it's definitely not dead. There's a lot still going on there, which is probably why NASA has actually achieved getting the access rights to the inside of the Great Pyramid. How they did that, I have no idea. So eventually, one day they might shut it down, people from going in there. But anyway, so I think they're trying to tell us that our story is much grander. Who we are, where we came from, the true power that's inside of us, what star systems we hail from, the power of achieving Christ consciousness. In other words, we know that Jesus, Yeshua is his real name, was in Egypt for some time learning the mysteries before he left there and went to Tibet and to India to learn healing with his hands and mystic arts and so forth. But to tell us that the return of the Christ is the return of the Christ consciousness on the planet, not that there's a man coming back, but that the spiritual mind is going to return to man. And that is going to be the second coming that's going to elevate everyone to the golden age. Just so much incredible knowledge in there, and the meanings of it all. Some are a little bit still kind of obscure, but overall, I think it's trying to enlighten us and wake us up to who we truly are and how much power we truly have.
Thank you. So let's go from there. Let's go to UAPs and then to the future of humanity. Mm-hmm. And we've had on Dr. Stephen Greer numerous times. I'm honored to call him a dear friend. And I've been honored is not the right word. I've seen stuff. So it's not a belief. It's a knowing at this point. What is going on? What do we need to know about? So if something takes place, we can take the high road. There, I'll lead the witness that way.
Absolutely. I mean, I believe I saw a UFO when I was very young, and I saw some more much later in my life. I go on UFO hunts now. In the summer, we take people with us now to go see these UFOs in the sky. So
1980. So I'll date myself. We're the same age.
Hey, nice.
1970, right?
1970. Yeah, man. Listen, we're in the same boat.
So I was. Yes, I was in a car with my parents. They were driving. I think it was 80. We went through New York City and I got to watch the lights zipping all around. That was a mass sighting that made it on TV that Dr. Stephen Greer has said that was actually a false flag, that it was actually our stuff. And that we were playing with our technology for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot. So some are UFOs and some are what they call now UAPs. So they try to take back control of the narrative, or take control of the narrative before it got out of hand, because everyone is getting access to great technology now, and we can see a lot of things in the sky that we couldn't see before. We can videotape and record things we couldn't do before. And people can even launch, universities will raise money and launch their own satellites now. So eventually they knew that these private companies or these colleges would eventually be, they're going to see things, and they're going to be unexplainable. So I think they said, we have to take control of this narrative. Now, if you look at Earth, predominantly the United States has taken, in what we call modern times, has taken control of this planet through the military-industrial complex. We've started the wars and finished them all. There's really no more wars to really fight, to be quite honest with you. I mean, they're taking part a little bit of monetization of Ukraine and monetization of Israel right now. But other than that, there's no real wars to fight anymore. We've already dominated and taken over everyone, brought democracy to the world. And we used to have this thing where every year was like $15–20 trillion missing from the budget, and nobody can answer where it went. Right? Black budget projects and so forth. A lot of that went into these UAPs, these ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles. And so now we have a lot of this technology, but we need more money. So in order to get more money, and without having to hide it anymore, the next best option is to create a Gulf of Tonkin incident, where that was the incident that created the Vietnamese War, where they faked an attack on one of our Navy vessels. And that was the whole reason why we went to war against Vietnam. And of course, that generated millions of dollars, maybe even billions, at the expense of millions of lives. And so now, because they need more money, they're thinking, maybe we take these UAPs and there'll be a UAP that'll buzz one of our Navy ships or whatever, and maybe take some shots at it. And then that'll be the auspice, give them the auspice to say, hey, listen, we need to collect $10 trillion or move $10 trillion from the budget into our space force so we can develop space weapons to protect us against the aliens. And then the people that sit on these corporations like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and all these places that get these Pentagon bids, they will take that money and they will give themselves humongous salaries. They will do R&D into some technologies. They'll develop some small amounts of it, but for the most part, a lot of it will never see the light of day. And a lot of people, including the people that granted them those contracts, will make a lot of submarine money. It's a huge way to generate billions of dollars over a lie. And so I think that's a lot of the things that we have to look for and be aware of going into this space future, that they could take advantage of us through fear, as they always do, manipulate us, and then steal our money.
But then how do we bring it back to love? How do we bring it back to the heart? How do we radiate from the inside out? As I'm watching that atom right behind you there, which is so much more than an atom. But how do we do that to create a massive wave of shift here on Earth?
I think, everyone needs to begin to, everyone would be nice to, but there's a certain amount of people that will begin to resonate at a higher frequency. This is the process. If you have a certain percentage of the civilization resonating at a particular frequency consciously, out of love, light, empathy, service to others, understanding that it's time to stop playing the game, and being fearless, being courageous, those are all high frequency mindsets. And when a certain number of people begin to resonate there, it will then spread around the entire planet like a virus. So we have to continue to raise people's minds, consciousness. We have to educate them. We have to bring them up to speed with potential things that could happen, even if they may seem kind of dark, not to scare them, but to let them know, to be aware and to be on the lookout, so that you can discern what is really going on when they come with the news and the information. You can see through the illusion a lot better. And I think if we can get enough people on that frequency, we'll be fine.
What percentage do you guess that is? And secondly, let's say we take the information. If you caught a snapshot of this interview today and you watched only a couple of minutes, you'd be like, oh my God, how do we take information like this? And this is a kind and gentle approach compared to what you can find elsewhere. How do we discern this information and then bring it back to heart, bring it back to love, take it away from fear?
Right. Well, I think the percentage, if we only had 20% of the world population, 20% of 8 billion people, I think that's enough to create the pulse wave, the love wave that will circle the entire planet many times over and begin to shift consciousness. I think 20% is a small number, believe it or not. I think that's the number that we need to reach to create that new high frequency virus that'll go around the planet.
Yeah.
and wake everybody up. And then, in terms of this information, I mean, it's a lot of information. I know people go through this process through the awakening, period, where at first it's like shock, then you go down the rabbit hole, and
Yep.
then you go through I made up a word called catastrophism, because you're trying to figure out, is everything coming to an end? This is the end of everything. Oh my God, everything is no good.
Yep.
Everything is fake, and the food's poisonous, and they're trying to kill us at every turn. And so we kind of go through that process. And then once we settle down, most of us, we come out of that and we start looking for solutions. And I think that what we can take out of this is, how can we all get away from the fear and the fear mongering, that we analyze and discern potential dangers to humanity, but also we begin to look for solutions, and we take part in those solutions, or we become solutions providers ourselves. So, like, for example, I don't like what's on the radio. I don't like the 440 hertz music. I think it's dangerous and deadly to the human DNA and consciousness. So what did I do? I created my own music. So I have 432 hertz and 528 hertz music songs in distribution. I didn't like what was on TV. I created my own TV network. I'm providing a solution. We have shows, and they're called Solutions for Humanity. So we can talk about solutions to get people gossiping about solutions instead of gossiping about fear mongering and other, useless gossip. And then, of course, so anything that I see that I think is an issue or a problem, I speak out about it, but I talk about solutions to go along with that, or potential solutions. Or I even ask people, what ideas do you have? If we all take the mindset of looking, collaborating, and providing solutions, then all of a sudden there'll be this massive shift, and it'll go from fear and, oh my goodness, what's going to happen, to how do we take back control of this planet? How do we take back control of our reality and our lives? How do we build a legacy for our future generations that they'll be proud of? It all takes part with us standing up and get away from the competition, and get away from and competition and consumption mind, and get into the collaboration mind. And when we do that, man, there's nothing that can stop us. We saw that at the Tower of Babel incident in Babylonia, long before that it made it into the biblical text, where human beings came together under one accord and built a tower into the heavens, when they shouldn't have been able to achieve that. And we did. It's the same exact thing now. We need to come together and collaborate, and we need to break this spell that's been put over us, draw a line in the sand and say, enough is enough. It's time for us to love one another. We're going to erase these divide and conquer tactics that we've been programmed to believe in, and we're going to see each other as our own equals, and we're going to build together.
Woohoo! On that note, you've got an amazing movie right now, Anunnaki: Ancient Secrets Revealed. You've got another incredible book out, Fractal Holographic Universe. You want to tell us about this?
Sure. The TV series is called Anunnaki: Ancient Secrets Revealed. We've had a great response. We've gone around the country to different Regal IMAX cinemas all over the United States, and every single one has been sold out. So thank you everyone that came out and participated, walked the red carpet, met me, we shook hands. We traded information. I signed books. Great time. And then I spoke for 1 hour at each theater. And then we watched the docuseries together, episode 1 of the docuseries. And so now that episode 1 has finally made it onto Forbidden Knowledge TV. We have our own TV network, a TV app. You can get on your app store. It's 4 with the number 4, Forbidden Knowledge TV app, on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung TVs, iOS App Store, and Google Play. And of course, the web at 4BK.TV, and you can check out episode 1. Now, we'll be releasing episodes every month on this docu-series that will last unlimited time. So we'll have unlimited seasons and unlimited episodes of this docu-series. And then my new book, Fractal Holographic Universe, which just came out. It's an amazing book on fractal mathematics, the fractal holographic nature of the universe. And in this book, I reveal the matrix code for the very first time. The very first time anyone's revealed the matrix code, you can each see the image of the code that exists that creates this reality inside the book. And it's number 1 in fractal mathematics, number 1 in quantum theory, and number 4 in science and philosophy on Amazon. So it's doing very, very well right now.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, we get to let you go. I want to have you back on about this. I would love to have you back on about this. I guess the last question, you can go anywhere with it you want, but are you optimistic for the future of humanity?
Oh, I'm totally optimistic. I mean, that's why I'm doing this. I see that we're heading in the right direction. Like I tell people all the time, humanity is like a baby learning how to walk. And so a baby will crawl to the edge of a table, try to pull itself up. we're in the stage right now trying to pull ourselves up. But the baby will take a few steps and it will fall and it will cry. It'll look like everything's coming to an end. Oh my goodness, the baby can't walk. It fell down. The baby's crying and screaming. But the baby will then realize it's okay and pull itself back up again and have the courage to take more steps. And eventually it'll take more steps, but it still will fall again. Eventually that baby will learn how to walk. And what is walking? The definition of walking is learning how to control your fall. That's an actual definition. So humanity will learn how to control its fall, and eventually not only walk, we'll begin to run as well.
Woohoo! How did it get any better than this? Thank you so much, Billy. This has been phenomenal. This has been amazing. I love your work. I support your work. I want to broadcast your work out to the world because we need you and we need this information out everywhere.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, take those steps. Don't be afraid to fall. Get back up. Recognize that you are the holographic universe. You're not all of it, but you are all powerful. And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! Wow, wow, wow. Oh my God. That was amazing. That's incredible. Why do I say that was so amazing and incredible? We have to know where we came from. And we don't need to know the specifics because we're all still trying to understand the specifics, but we have to know more of where we came from in order to know where we want to go. And on that note, if you like the energy, if you want to bring your vibration up, if you want to get to that higher state where humanity shifts consciousness, come on over to dailywoohoo.com. I have a daily dose of vibrational goodness that will bring you up, 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 way up, shift your energy and help to shift the energy of the planet every single day. It's free, dailywoohoo.com. And if you want to become a mystic, learning how to play, truly live at this higher level, then simply go, well, I'll put the link down below. Click there and join the School of Mystics. We meet 4 times a month, live or recorded, whatever works best for you. And if you want to channel, if you want to learn how to hear from the other side, to hear from the ancients, to hear from your elders, to hear from the Anunnaki, or to hear from your loved ones on the other side of the veil, simply come to automaticwriting.com. It's automaticwriting.com. And I'd happy to teach you live or recorded how to do that in almost a heartbeat. I send so much love your way. Above and beyond all else, shine bright and woohoo! How does it get any better than this? All my love. I send all my love your way.